Ladies and gentlemen, will you please be upstanding for your Chairman of Council, Councillor Louise Mead.
Good evening, councillors. Please be seated. I would like to warmly welcome the members of the public who have joined us to observe the meeting from the public gallery this evening, along with those watching the webcast this evening. May I please respectfully ask that members of the public keep noise level to a minimum. This is to ensure the smooth running of the meeting. May I also remind them that there will not be an opportunity to ask questions this evening, and that any attendees seen to be causing a disturbance will be removed from the public gallery. Thank you. So, members, item 1 on our agenda tonight is the webcasting introduction. So please may I ask Mr. Woodall to read the webcasting announcements.
Thank you. The Chairman would like to remind everyone that this meeting will be filmed live and recorded and uploaded to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. Therefore, by participating in this meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings. If any public speakers on Microsoft Teams do not wish to have their image captured, they should ensure that their video setting throughout the meeting is turned off and set to audio only. Members are reminded to turn on their microphones before speaking and turn them off when they're finished. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Item 2 on our agenda this evening is apologies for absence. So do we have any apologies for absence, Mr. Woodall?
Thank you, Chairman. I've received apologies for absence from Councillors Dadd, Hadley, Pugsley and Sharif.
Thank you very much. Number 3 on our agenda. Oh, sorry, Councillor Markham.
Sorry, apologies for lateness from Shane Yerrell. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we note that, please? Thank you. Number 3 on our agenda is declarations of interest. Do we have any members who have a declaration of interest? Councillor Morris, please.
Thanks. I've been advised by Democratic Services to declare a non-pecuniary interest in the report of regulatory services portfolio because my road is mentioned in the report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Morris. Do we have any other declarations of interest? No. Okay. Agenda item 4 is minutes from our meeting that was held on the 22nd of May 2025, which you will find attached to the agenda this evening, pages 7 to 40. Members, may I now sign these minutes as a true record of the meetings?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Now, members, it's been requested by the Leader of the Council, Councillor Chris Whitbread, that he would like to present his report, which is listed as item 9 earlier than as published in your agenda. So I have agreed, and now I invite the Leader of Council to present his report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak out of turn this evening before the motion that comes before this council. This is certainly not the report I would like to be giving tonight, and I'd hope to be speaking about the positive things that are happening across our communities, like the new Epping Sports Centre, and the things that really matter to our community in moving forward. But none of us would have failed to see the events that have taken place in Epping over the last few weeks. And I wanted to take this opportunity to update you on the current situation about the Bell Hotel, to address any concerns and to rebuff the misinformation that is circulating that is so damaging to our community and our place. We're here to represent and support our community. It is vitally important to me that we support our residents' right to be heard, and I thank again those residents who are expressing their concerns peacefully. But I have to say, violence and disorder has no place in our district, and it hurts me personally to see the behaviour of a small number of people intent on disrupting peaceful protest, fuelled in part by the misinformation I spoke about earlier. Before I go into more detail about what has happened to date, and the Council's role in supporting our community through this difficult time, I'd like to take a few moments to show you a short video released by the police yesterday, which addresses some of the misinformation that has been distributed. If I could ask the officers to run the video.
So, we've taken a look at what you're asking us on social media about how we're dealing with the incidents in Epping. There are a few things which I'd like to give you some more information on, and I hope this helps.
Why are you allowing the protest to take place at all?
Peaceful protest is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the police have a responsibility to help protect people who want to do this. We must always avoid doing anything that would unfairly stop or limit peaceful protests. This is enshrined in the Human Rights Act, which ensures people's voices are heard. We will always do our best to facilitate peaceful protest without fear or favour.
They have police decoys in the crowd encouraging violence.
No, we would categorically never do that.
A police van ran over a protester during the disorder.
There is a large amount of footage from Epping circulating on social media, which I'm sure many of you will have seen. One incident in particular shows a police van being driven by officers drafted in on mutual aid, clearly on blue lights, trying to move on from an area. We've reviewed legitimate and undoctored footage of that incident, and we're confident there are no issues. And in fact, we've had no complaints made to us regarding that incident. My pledge to everyone is that we will continue to review all footage available to us to ensure we are operating to our high standards. I would just urge anyone who is near an emergency service vehicle, which is clearly on blue lights, to please think twice about getting in front of it.
The police are not impartial.
We absolutely are impartial. We police across Essex without fear or favour, and under our ultimate aim is to protect all members of the public. And we have a duty to protect life and prevent crime, and will be proactive in our actions to achieve this. And to those who consider themselves organisers, on both sides, my plea to you is this: contact us. We recognise the strength of feeling in the area, and we want to work with you on your plans and your aims and how that can be facilitated.
Protesters have been hurt by police officers.
I want to be as transparent as possible. Policing these incidents in Epping has been a challenge. We've called in help from neighbouring forces to do this, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank those officers who answered that call and stood beside us in the face of threats of violence, antagonism, and helped to restore order. I'm confident we've policed these incidents proportionately, and will continue to do that. We're aware there are plans in some quarters to try to continue with these criminal incidents, and I'd like to reassure our Epping residents we'll be out there in the community, doing everything we can to ensure your town is kept safe. False narratives and unverified claims only serve to inflame tensions, endanger public safety, and undermine the integrity of our policing efforts. The operational decisions being made are based on information and intelligence available and according to the behaviour of those taking part, in order to keep the public safe. I want to assure you that we want to see Epping remain a peaceful place, free of disorder. But make no mistake about it, we will continue to deal robustly with people committing crime and disorder. And lastly, I would urge everyone to rely on official channels for updates. Accurate reporting on social media is not just a matter of public interest, it's a matter of public safety.
Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for listening to that video. I think it's helpful sometimes just to calmly remind everyone of the role of the police and what they have to do. And I know all of us here understand the importance of the role we play, representing and supporting our community, and the responsibility that comes with our elected status to promote calm in situations like this, so that we can ensure the safeguarding and preservation of our community that is at heart a good, tolerant community. We need to challenge and call out the propagation of any and all misinformation from all sources, but especially when it comes from within our elected membership. Spreading misinformation is not good community leadership. Whilst challenging and calling out misinformation is challenging, analysis of the situation stoked up by social media, these events have attracted the attention of extremist groups from both sides of the political divide. I am concerned, as I'm sure you all are, that our residents' peaceful protests are being infiltrated by those on the extremes of politics. And this issue is no longer just a concern of the residents of Epping, but wider. I am worried that Epping will become a focus and battleground for the agendas of those extremist groups, and that they will continue to stoke tensions here as part of their wider campaigns. I don't want Epping to be at the heart of this. The majority of Epping residents are peaceful whilst concerned, but lasting harm is being done to our community, which will take time to heal. And this is why I say again, it's essential for us to call for calm while we do everything within our power to ensure our residents' voices are heard. And that's why, as a council, we are absolutely and strongly condemn what happened in Epping High Street to a young lady. This will be dealt with through the justice system. But we also strongly condemn all the violence that has surrounded this in recent days. We have no control over the use of the Bell Hotel or direct means to stop its use. It is blocked, booked and managed on behalf of the Home Office. Only they can stop its use. Since it was first occupied during the pandemic, this council has consistently maintained that the hotel is the wrong facility in the wrong location and is not suitable for its current use. It is occupied often by vulnerable people, and there are not the facilities or communities here to support them. The Home Office has consistently ignored our views. We are doing all we can by using all the diplomatic channels open to us to generate support and get the government to listen to us, and we will continue to do so. In the meantime, we are using all communication routes to message to the community that we understand that they have been heard, but we need to seek calm to further our arguments. The Home Office knows that if they close a facility in response to violent protest, then they will see violent protest outside of all facilities. And violence will not achieve the goal of closure. Further escalation will only damage our town and damage our community. And in the end, it will not achieve our joint objective, which is to close the Bell Hotel. The police are leading and coordinating the response. We meet on a regular basis, daily. They have our full support and are doing a tremendous job in upholding everyone's right to peacefully protest, despite criticism and fake news surrounding events. The Police Strategy Coordination Group, SCG for short, is attended by up to 40 public sector bodies, all totally aligned and supporting the community. Jen Gould, with Mandy Thompson and other colleagues, are playing central roles as the Epping Forest leadership team. And my thanks goes out to all our officers who have worked tirelessly over the past few weeks on our behalf as members and have given an awful amount of support to us all. Our role is one of support, but also to coordinate and as community leaders to lead community cohesion and recovery. We are speaking to the Home Office on a regular basis. I have to say to you at the present time, they are not being overly cooperative. I could use a better description, but I won't do that here. We are speaking to our MPs on a regular basis, both from Brentwood Nonga and Epping Forest, because this affects us all. We are speaking to the Police and Crime Commissioner, the local government department, the Local Government Association and other councils who have had similar experiences. And we are considering further options that may be available to us to bring this situation to a satisfactory conclusion. Members, all of us need to be a voice of truth and call out fake news. Don't incite trouble or spread stories. We all need to appeal for calm, and we need to use all the diplomatic channels open to us. I know members have been speaking to our MPs as well, pushing forward that agenda to get something done about this terrible situation that we find ourselves in. And we will continue to do that. And most of all, we will weather this storm and we will support our community through it, and we will resolve the issues that we face presently. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitbread. Before we go on to agenda item number 5, motions, I'd just like to ask Councillor Yerrell if he has any declarations of interest, because he arrived a bit later. Just check that, please.
Yeah, I do, and I'd like to speak as well when I'm given the opportunity. I'm friends with the young girl's father.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we can speak on the motion. Yeah.
So you were able to speak on the motion. That would be okay if you want to. So 5 on our agenda is motions. So before we look at that. So I understand that tensions are high and many councillors may wish to speak on the motion this evening. I would request you maintain respectfulness, and I will not tolerate any rudeness. May I ask you to keep discussion within the realms of the motion, and note that if I feel you are not doing so, I may need to interject. May I remind you to speak as clearly as possible, and may I request that any amendments which go to a vote are written down for clarity and passed on to myself as the chairman. So, councillors, we have a revised motion before us tonight, you should all have in front of you, which you will find on the council supplementary agenda 2, put forward by Councillor Holly Whitbread. Are councillors content to accept the revised motion for consideration at the meeting instead of the original motion? Thank you. So, Councillor Holly Whitbread, do you have a seconder for the motion, please?
Chairman, I'm happy to second, and I reserve my right to speak last.
Thank you very much, Councillor Whitbread. So, Councillor Holly Whitbread, would you like to present the motion?
Thank you, Chairman. Tonight, I present this motion to full council, calling on the government to immediately and permanently close the Bell Hotel in Epping for the purposes of asylum processing. Enough is enough. The government have ignored us for too long. The Bell Hotel was reopened without any consultation, not with this council, not with our local MPs, and certainly not with the community that we serve. It was reopened in the face of clear and consistent objections. We warned the Home Office. We told them this location was unsuitable. We raised serious safeguarding concerns. They ignored us. They didn't listen after a resident of the hotel was charged with arson. They didn't listen after the alleged sexual assault of a 14-year-old schoolgirl in broad daylight. They didn't listen after the recent protests that have left many local people feeling frightened and uneasy in their own home, which, although began peacefully, ended violently. And they are still not listening. It is my firm belief that the government is now treating our community with contempt. Contempt for local democracy, contempt for public safety, contempt for our town, which deserves better than this. As our community reaches boiling point, the government continues to ignore our calls to close the Bell Hotel. This is not only unacceptable, but it is deeply irresponsible. This motion has been carefully amended with consultation of members from across this chamber. I hope tonight we can speak as one voice, united as a council, in demanding the immediate and permanent closure of the hotel. This council has always opposed the use of the Bell Hotel, going back to 2020 when we said back then it is an inappropriate location. Back then there was a mixed use, there was women and children alongside males. Now there is only males within the hotel. And as a council, as I've said before, we were not consulted, we were just told. Epping Forest has had an unfair burden of the illegal immigration crisis. We know also that we've got the Phoenix Hotel just a couple of miles down the road. Within this amended motion, we're asking for the managed closure of the Phoenix Hotel, mindful of the fact that there are children and families within that hotel. And we've listed the reasons again and again why the Bell Hotel in particular is inappropriate. It's just a quarter of a mile from a local school. And we have no transparency over who is in that hotel, and that is why we are so concerned. And recent events have left local people feeling afraid. Many no longer feel safe in their own community. This is my hometown. I have lived in Epping my whole life. Never in my worst nightmares did I think we would see the situation that we've seen in recent days and weeks. Riot police in Tower Road, people afraid. Of course, we send our sympathy to the victims of the recent crimes and to everyone affected by this fear and disruption to our community. We would also like to thank the police for their professional response and also how swiftly they arrested the perpetrator of the crime. This motion also calls on central government to recognise that their approach to illegal immigration is wrong. And this is not party political because my government got it wrong. The use of asylum hotels is not right. It's not right to have asylum hotels within the heart of the community. And it's especially not right when they do not consult us, we have no evidence of safeguarding, and they fail to act when something goes wrong. Epping, unfortunately, has become the epicentre of national concern over asylum hotels. But this is bigger than us, and we do not want our town to become the focus of this. And we are being left to deal with the consequences of this broken system. So I am really pleading with the Home Office this evening. Please listen to us, do the responsible thing, and close this hotel once and for all. Believe me, I share residents' concerns, frustrations about the system that we have. So on the protests, I think it's really worth saying that everyone has a right to peacefully protest. And as I've said at the beginning of this speech, I support the calls to close the hotel, and I always have. What people don't have the right to do is to violently protest. And a really important component of this motion is calling on residents and councillors to responsibly express their objections in a democratic, constructive and peaceful way. I have spoken to so many people in Epping. I've been walking up and down the high street, talking to businesses, talking to local people, and they all say the same thing to me. We want the hotel to close. We do not want it there, but we do not want violence. We are not a violent community. We are a united community. And for people in this chamber who criticise councillors for not going on protests, frankly, they should hang their heads in shame. And if you want to ask me why I didn't go on the protest, I agree with the words to close the hotel, but I would never knowingly stand next to a neo-Nazi, which is what a member in this chamber did on Sunday. My granddad and my granddad's generation fought in a war against these people. And while it is right in a democracy, we call out the government, we call out when things have gone wrong, we should also call out with people with views which do not represent our community. These people do not talk for Britain. They're not British values. And quite frankly, I think anyone who stands side by side with them should hang their heads in shame. It's disgraceful. So as councillors, it's vital that we promote calm. We should not mislead the public, incite hate, or undermine our police force, who are doing the very best they can in impossible circumstances. So to conclude, I urge members to support this motion tonight. Let us speak with one voice and demand the immediate closure of the Bell Hotel. Let's do so diplomatically. Let's keep getting on at the Home Office. Let's keep encouraging people to sign the petition. Over 9,000 signatures asking for the hotel to close. Let's put on pressure in every democratic means we possibly can. We get your frustrations. We are residents. We don't want the hotel there either. But we want calm. We want respect. Just on to the final line of this motion. We are calling for the hotel to close. Enough is enough. The government must listen. For the sake of my community, our community, it's time for the hotel to close. But let's all please reflect on our behaviour. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Chris Whitwood, can I just ask you, would you like to speak now, reserve your right to speak until after we've heard everyone from the chamber, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, if I could reserve my right. Thank you.
So, members, we're now going to take a small amount of time to, if you put your hands up if you want to speak. So my Vice-Chairman will take your names down and we'll just wait for him to take the names down so that we all know where we are and who wants to speak. Take them. Yeah, okay. I'm taking them down. Okay. Okay. You've been noting them down, yeah? Councillor Yerrill, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. This is difficult, so I need to take my time. I don't often speak here because I prefer to sit back and observe. And it's honest in saying I'm not as strong as some of the characters in here, but I speak when necessary, and now there's never been a more necessary time to speak. I need to speak up for local parents and their children. As a father myself, I find it really hard to accept that a 14-year-old was sexually assaulted a few hundred metres away from a school that she attended by somebody who had illegally came into the country just 8 days before. Now, it wouldn't be right for me to sit here and talk about the perpetrator tonight, but what I would say is it's not fair for anybody to make comment about colour, race or religion. We're all equal and we should all be treated the same. But it's also not fair for anyone that turns up at the protest to be branded a racist or a Nazi. There are many of us in this room who are parents. Think about how we'd all feel if this happened to one of our own children. Wouldn't you protest? I attended the protest myself because I'm friends with the father of the daughter, and it was very, very peaceful from our point. There was no trouble. Obviously, by the time I got home later that evening, there had been trouble. But I think speaking for the local people and the majority of people there, they're there just to peacefully protest, not kick police cars and try and cause trouble. In my opinion, that was from people that are well outside the district. The father of the 14-year-old who was sexually assaulted is a friend of mine, and I can tell you that he's really hurting about what's happened. He feels powerless because there's nothing he can do to change the situation. But let's be honest, our government could have. They have left our borders wide open for anybody and everybody to just walk into our country. They then put them into comfortable hotels without checking their history or backgrounds or putting any safeguarding measures in place to prevent them from harming themselves or any members of the public. Now, I'm not for 1 minute saying that illegal immigrants are all criminals or they don't deserve to be housed. I know that some of them are in very vulnerable situations and they've escaped from harm and even worse, risk of being killed. And I think that it's important that we understand we need to help and accommodate people like that. But we also need to make sure that there are background checks and we have some kind of knowledge about their history and if they're going to be a danger to the public. On another note, I want to read a statistic which was published from HARP, which is HARP, which is a homeless charity in Essex. There are 3,898 people sleeping rough every night in England. There are 8,880 people in Essex that are homeless. Some of them fought for our country and put their life at risk in doing so. Now, as I said earlier, it's not about race, colour or religion, we're all equal. But how are we as a country putting illegal immigrants who we have no knowledge and no background on in comfortable hotels while leaving our own on the streets in the cold? Our government and the Home Office have let their own people down, they've let the people of Epping down, and they've let the parents of the young girl who was sexually assaulted down. People are protesting because they're worried. They feel like they're not being listened to. Even our leader of the council, Councillor Chris Whitbread, has been ignored several times as he's raised this issue with the Home Office. People have the right to protest as long as it's done with dignity and without violence. There's been incidents where people have been injured and damaged police cars and even assaulted police officers.
Councillor Yarrow, you have another minute because
Okay,
we have
that's
up
fine.
to 5 minutes, just to let you know.
There have been incidents where people have assaulted people and attacked police cars. This is not protesting, this is silliness. I don't agree with any of that, and the message gets lost and the focus shifts away from the victim. On that note, I'd like to read a message from the young girl's father to show you exactly what he's like and his thoughts on the protest. Morning, Shane. I hope you're okay. Just a quick message to say thank you for checking in on me every day and just genuinely being there for us. Thanks for helping to raise awareness and for turning up to show support. My daughter is reading the lovely messages of support on the Just Giving and it's making her smile again. You've known me for a long time and you know I do not want or condone any of the violence that have taken place at the protest. That's not what we're about and that's not what we're trying to achieve. It's only going to make things go the other way. I just want the hotel to be moved not only off our streets but away from making any other family feel how we are feeling right now. It's not fair that the government are putting our children and grandchildren at risk, even their own. I didn't think my little girl's story would be as big as it has become, but I'm loving the support from the community and the kind messages. It's helping her get through every day. Eventually we will get her confidence back to the point where she's able to go out without feeling scared. Now, we've all been elected in here from the people of Epping Forest, and I feel like most of us are on the same page, but we need to take a minute to put ourselves in the family's position and how we'd feel and stand up for them. And if that means actually going to the Home Office ourselves or all of us writing an individual email, then so be it. We need to make sure that they feel like they're being listened to, because right now they're not, from the government or the Home Office.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Yarrow. Councillor John Whitehouse, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to start by saying something positive. 2 weeks ago, I was at Copt Hall, just outside Epping, as part of celebrations for the 30th anniversary of the Trust buying the house. It's an inspiring example of what people of different ages, backgrounds and interests can do when they work together for a common endeavour. And in difficult times, we have reasons for hope in the countless examples in Epping and the surrounding areas of people who work together to build and strengthen our community and are still doing so in the face of people who come to Epping in search of conflict and division. Epping residents, like me, have been shocked, alarmed, disturbed, frightened by recent events. Perhaps particularly those who live on the high road and nearby, and those who've been directly affected by the incidents that have happened. Many people in Epping just want to be able to get on with their lives. But as we've just heard, that's not possible for everyone. Those who can't get on there with their lives easily are the victims of the incidents that we've experienced in Epping. And it's quite right the Council expresses its support and sympathy for those who have been assaulted or experienced crimes. I think sexually or racially motivated crime is particularly abhorrent, as are attacks on the emergency services. I want to thank the police for the work they're doing to keep local residents safe, but I'm appalled it's been necessary for them to arrive in Epping in such volume and such force because of the violence and the intimidation that we've experienced here. Facilitating passionate, lawful protest is a difficult and an important task. It's made more difficult when those with no interest in the community of Epping choose to exploit local concerns, exploit the victims of crime and awful experiences for their own warped ends. If you're here to stir up violence and confrontation in the service of warped ideology, or maybe for some social media clicks, we don't want you and we don't need you. The people of Epping can fight their own battles and want their Thursdays and their Sundays back. I'm grateful the movers of the motion allowed me to add these points to the original motion. I also want to say this. It's not that long since councillors in this chamber were having their photos taken in support of Ukrainian refugees fleeing war and violence. In 2021, Epping Museum had a fascinating exhibition about the Loughton boys who fled to this area from persecution in Nazi Germany. We've local businesses run by people whose families fled from Uganda when Idi Amin was a dictator there. Some of those in hotels like the Bell and the Phoenix will not qualify to stay in Britain and will need to leave the country. Others may be fleeing war and persecution, may qualify for refugee status and will deserve a chance to build a new life in a new community. For the last few weeks, Epping has been in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. We will support the motion tonight. The Bell and the Phoenix Hotel, indeed hotels in general, are not suitable long-term accommodation. We need an effective and fair asylum system and the asylum backlog cleared. We want to see the Bell back, performing its proper function, serving tourists, visitors and local businesses. And we want Epping to be known once again for its forest, for its market and above all its community, and not for what we've seen on the streets in recent weeks. Thank you.
Before we ask someone else to speak, can I just remind members not to mention the investigation at all, and it would not be appropriate to refer to it in this meeting. Thank you. Can I now ask Councillor Nweki, please, to speak if he wishes.
Thank you, Chair. My heart goes out to the family and the victim of the alleged sexual assault. I could only imagine how difficult it is for them. So, and I would like to express my thanks to the police as well for the hard work they're doing to keep our streets safe. It's not an easy task to create a space for peaceful protest, which I'm sure we all support. We are a nation of fair-minded, compassionate, and generous people. I see this across in the district wherever I go. Referring to the words of Winston Churchill, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. I would like to add to that, we don't just make a life by what we give, we make a legacy by what we give. I'll be supporting this motion today, not because I'm against asylum seekers, but because I agree that the Bell Hotel is not suitable. It does not provide appropriate environment for vulnerable people, and the situation is failing everyone. I must emphasize that most asylum seekers are vulnerable people who have fled from persecution and conflict. They are seeking safety and a chance to rebuild their lives. However, I am concerned that the current situation may be exploited by those with harmful agenda. We cannot allow legitimate concern about our safety to be used by individuals or groups to spread fear and division. What we need is a more effective system that, one, ensures safety checks and risk assessments are in place. Two, consults with the local communities before placements. Three, provide proper transparent support and supervision for asylum seekers. Four, treat everyone with dignity while maintaining public safety. I believe the current arrangement may fail to meet these essential needs. This is why I will be supporting this motion. We can be both compassionate and responsible. We can welcome those genuinely seeking safety while ensuring proper checks. We can advocate for our community's safety while also standing against divisive language and actions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now, Councillor McCann, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Chairman. This was alluded to earlier, but I feel compelled to challenge the rhetoric of Councillor MacGyver over the last couple of weeks. He made inflammatory comments targeting the people in this chamber that cannot go unanswered. On Sunday, during a protest which he led to the very doors of this council building, he gave a speech where he characterised the people in this chamber as pigs, with our snouts in the trough, driven by self-interest. This is a new low. There are councillors in this chamber from across the political spectrum who have dedicated their lives to public service, and it's a privilege for me to count myself among you. Working in counter-terrorism for many years, I've taken on the Islamists, the far right, and the far left. My record, and that of a good many other councillors in this chamber, speaks for itself. I will take no lessons from him on public service. I was at the protest on Sunday. I think he missed that, because he made it all about him and his agenda. I spoke to concerned residents, people who have lived in this town for decades. It's clear that 3 tribes have attended these protests. The first are local people, rightly concerned by the presence of undocumented, unvetted illegal immigrants in our community, and now we have serious criminal offences being committed. People who are no longer willing to pick up the pieces of our broken immigration system. I feel the anger of our residents. As a father with young children growing up in this area, I'm angry too. The second are well-financed and coordinated far-left agitators. And the third are their opponents on the far right, both of whom came here spawning for a fight and to hijack legitimate protests by local people. They are not welcome in our town. Let's be clear, this is a national crisis playing out on the small stage of Epping. So what have we done? Conservative councillors have worked closely with other groups in this chamber. Problem solving over placards. Where he has talked the talk, we have walked the walk, putting in the hard yards to support the people of Epping. Despite the obstinacy of Home Office officials, local councillors and officers have worked tirelessly over the last few weeks to resolve this crisis. I particularly want to thank Councillor Chris Whitbread for his leadership throughout. He has been clear in calling for the hotel to be closed. He has my support 100%. To this end, he launched a petition calling for a debate in the House of Commons. We have pressed the Home Office for visibility of the risk assessment and the community impact assessment associated with the use of the hotel. I'd like to thank MPs Neil Hudson and Alex Burghardt for their work to raise this issue with the Home Secretary. I thought the response that this government is committed to closing all hotels by the end of this Parliament stands in stark contrast to the fact that the use of asylum hotels has increased by more than 20% since this Labour government were elected. This government's relationship with the truth is fleeting at best. I'd also like to thank Essex Police and all those other constabularies drafted in on mutual aid for all they do to keep us safe and to safeguard our democratic right to protest. I spoke to officers on Sunday and I was struck by their professionalism in the face of a barrage of misinformation on all sides. Being a police officer today is like being the England football team manager. No one wants to do the job, but everyone is an expert on how it should be done. I believe we should now give serious consideration to applying for an injunction to prevent the use of the Bell Hotel for accommodating illegal migrants. And I'd ask the leader, when he sums up, given the Home Office's unwillingness to engage with us, should we now explore legal redress through the courts? Thank you.
Councillor McIver, did you want to speak?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and may I thank you for chairing such an emotive meeting with your usual class. And I'd like to thank all members for their participation. I would like to thank Councillor McCann for raising that point. It gives me an opportunity to clarify, which I've had a number of conversations with members about this evening. I was referring to politicians that cancel elections and then give themselves a pay rise within the same few months. That was what my speech was about. Very happy to speak to any member about that, and of course most have my numbers. You can speak to me about it in person, over the phone. Doesn't necessarily need to come to this chamber, because what that does is distract from the very serious nature of this motion, which is about people and their lives. It is about young girls and women and their lives here in Epping. And I do think it is a real shame that more members from this chamber couldn't be there in person to speak to those residents, as Councillor McCann has. I must admit I didn't see him there, but I'm grateful to him for being there, as I'm sure the residents were. Councillor Yerrell, similar reception, and Councillor Owen this evening, a similar reception. The people of Epping are worried. They're scared. And what they want in that scenario is to know they're being listened to. And I have proudly stood with the people of this community, including many people who have travelled from Ongar and the villages where I represent. I've proudly stood next to them shoulder to shoulder and listened to them. I can't solve this problem. The truth is, in this chamber, none of us can. This is years and years and years of mismanagement of our country's borders, which has resulted in the need for hotels to be used to accommodate unvetted men that have entered the country illegally. And if the Bell Hotel closes, which I very much hope it does, I'm afraid it will only be another community that has to pay the price. This is about women's safety, and the people out there this evening, the people that have been on the streets of Epping, they are local people that are worried. Now, violence against police officers is unacceptable, obviously, and it pains me that I'd even need to say that in this chamber for clarity. Violence against anybody is unacceptable. Assaulting anybody is unacceptable. Damaging public property is unacceptable. Putting local businesses at such risk that they feel the need to close because they're worried. But misinformation can come from both sides. But one thing I would like to point out to this chamber, and I will support the motion, there was just one detail, bullet point 2. I believe it was the arrest and charge of another individual for us, and I think it would be important to clarify that. But I'll wait to the end of my speech for the clarity. I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah. Can you just wait, Councillor
Sure.
McIver?
Yeah, I think members need to be aware there is an ongoing police investigation, and it would not be appropriate to discuss the detail of that in this chamber, not least because it could prejudice the case as it goes through the process. So I really think it's not appropriate to refer to that.
I appreciate that. It's written in the motion, and the bullet point 1 mentions arrest and charging. Bullet point 2 just says arrest. I believe the individual was charged as well. That was just my point.
But no detail. Yeah.
just a minor detail. But more to the point that I wanted to conclude on, I will support this motion. I support the closure of both these hotels, one in which falls in my county division. I do not support the idea that all of those people, local mums, local children, local dads, are somehow far-right thugs because they share a different political idea to others. But I will call out the far-left thuggery that was escorted to the Bell Hotel, which caused, I was there and I watched it, which caused unnecessarily provocation. And that is not misinformation. I was there.
Right, Councillor
I was there, and the Chief Constable's conference confirmed this.
So you're going to have to
So
stop
I will
speaking.
wrap up then, Madam Chairman. I'd like to thank the police officers that have travelled from across the country to be here, particularly Staffordshire Police and Bedfordshire Police, who have excelled. I'd like to thank Essex Police for the pressures that they are under. And Madam Chairman, I will finally say this. The people of Epping deserve strong political leadership, and I urge members of this council to speak to the people out there after this
That's your
meeting.
5 minutes done.
Thank you.
Councillor Pond, please. Councillor Pond. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I intend to speak very briefly to say that we in Loughton very much regret the disturbance to the peace of our friends and colleagues in Epping that has happened over the last couple of weeks. We all know that the UK has had to cope with an influx of asylum seekers. The choice of Epping as a centre for their accommodation was, in my view, a spectacularly bad one. I don't particularly criticise the poor executive officer somewhere in the Home Office, who, I guess, was told we need accommodation for 500 more at the end of next week. But I do criticise the political direction at the Home Office. Truly, the Bell is a terrible choice for this sort of thing. It is a terrible choice because it is next to one huge secondary school and less than 100 yards away from another smaller one. It's an awful choice. And it's on the very edge of Epping town, in an historic building, and it's in the Epping Forest district with its unstable politics within living memory. And all that's happened here has simply inflamed what we thought we had quelled years ago. We in the LRA group, I think, can be proud of having supplanted the then standard bearers of fascism 15 years ago. And it is absurd to see the Bell situation raising that sort of spectre again, and the police being taunted while they try to keep the peace for us all on our behalf. Like everyone else, I thank them for what they have done, both the Essex Police and supporting forces. I think the motion may be overcomplicated and a bit verbose, but I will of course support it to show that Epping Forest is united in saying this site for the Bell Hotel and its use is wrong. It's plain wrong. But members, among ourselves, I don't suppose that Yvette Cooper is listening to this in listening mode, but really the proposers and seconders of the motion have got it exactly right in that this facility needs prompt closure. Thank you.
Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't intend to speak this evening. I wholeheartedly support this motion, but I wanted to call out Councillor McIver, who seems to sidestep what he says outside in this chamber. It's not directed at this chamber. He said on social media that unless you're sitting in hospital unable to walk, where are you? Well, I'm in the fourth week of 6 weeks of chemotherapy. I wasn't out there and I didn't intend to be out there, but I really do take exception to your comments. Really do.
Councillor Rackham, please.
Good evening, and thank you, Chair. I support the motion in front of us this evening. I'm just going to say a few words. Firstly, I want to thank Councillor Yerrell for his very moving words earlier this evening. Thank you, Councillor Yerrell. When we speak about issues like immigration and asylum, we have to remember that the government and the council can only do what the law allows. And sometimes what people want isn't possible within the law. So this council does not have the power to stop the owners of the Bell contracting with the Home Office to use the accommodation for a purpose that is actually lawful under their planning consent. And it's worth reminding the people here and outside that the Bell ceased to be used to house asylum seekers in April 2024, and that was under the Conservative government. It's only reopened because the Labour government has utterly failed to smash the gangs, and there's been a huge increase in illegal channel crossings since they came to power. I know that the leadership of the council and our MPs have lobbied the government about this, but it's a decision that rests with the government. We also have to be conscious of the very strong feelings people have about these things on both sides of the argument. We represent everybody in the wards we were elected to serve. And whilst we may take a personal view on issues like this, we should not take sides in a matter which the council has no jurisdiction over. All our councillors need to stand together on this issue and not accuse others of refusing to support local residents. There is no one here that has their snouts in the trough.
We have no more names of members that wish to speak. Councillor Janet Whitehouse, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I did actually put my hand up at the very beginning, so obviously I got missed. I'm speaking as an Epping councillor and as the Mayor of Epping. It's very sad that the picture of Epping that's being seen nationally and internationally is one of disturbance and violence. This is not the usual Epping. Epping's an attractive market town with an interesting history and beautiful surroundings. But the most important element of any place is its people. And the people of Epping are community-minded, compassionate and caring. This can be seen in the number of local organisations run by volunteers, the support given to the food bank and the kindnesses shown in so many ways. Last Sunday was one of the demonstration evenings. But during the day, the annual Classic Car Show had taken place, organised by Rotary, in one of our main recreation grounds. And that was enjoyed by many people, both from within Epping and coming from outside. And 2 weeks previously, we'd had the Epping Town Show, similarly enjoyed by people from outside Epping and within. We don't want the people who are coming from outside now who are coming just to cause disturbance. I agree that the Bell Hotel needs to be closed, but we don't know the circumstances of the individuals who have been placed there. Sadly, there are many places in the world where there's conflict and people have to flee. There are also people who want to come to this country to work, and their contribution is valuable. But we do need safe and legal routes for both groups to come here. It seems that some local people are staying away from Epping because of concerns about their safety. That obviously is a sensible thing to do if there's going to be a demonstration. But I would like to say to them, do come back, support the high street shops and the market, and let's keep everyday life in Epping continuing as normal. Thank you.
Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chairman. I only want to say a couple of words. As I was understood that an asylum seeker took refuge at the first safe place that it came to. But this doesn't seem to be what is happening. These people are not asylum seekers, they are economic migrants, and I'm sure that the law must be able to treat them a different way. And I fully agree with the motion that we've put forward because it is not a suitable place. And as a mother and a grandmother, I'm quite concerned for, as I have teenage grandchildren, that the whole country, in fact, doesn't seem to be a very safe place.
Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is such an important motion, and it carries so much emotion, and I fully agree with all of its parts. It's to safeguard and protect our kids, but to set an example to the rest of the country. And at the end of the day, it's a motion for common sense safety. Now, standing here tonight, I feel two things very clearly. First, I feel very proud of our community for standing strong through what has been a difficult and upsetting time. I'm proud of the hundreds of mums, dads, grandparents, neighbours who are here tonight, and thank you for coming, who protested peacefully at the Bell Hotel. You didn't come with hate. You came with concern about what happened in our community, and you came to be heard. And I hope that we are listening to you right now. And I'm proud that despite everything, this council is still meeting. We're still getting on with the job. But I also stand here with concern and with anger. Because while many local people came in peace, others came to stir up trouble. People with no connection to the area arrived to push their own agendas. Police officers have been injured. Property has been damaged. This isn't protest, this is thuggery. I'm also disappointed, Councillor McIver, who I'm still proud to call a friend, that you have used this serious motion for self-promotion and photo ops to build your own personal brand, and it is a good brand, for political purposes. And not only that, but you go on to put words in our mouth and accuse us of saying that all of the protesters were far right. What utter bollocks. Now, our words carry weight, and yours have crossed the line, I'm afraid. Referring to councillors as having their snouts in the trough isn't just hollow and vacuous, it poisons debate and deliberately seeks to divide. And I'm sad that you've just doubled down on this claim. British politicians have been murdered when us versus them language has gone unchecked, and we need to keep it at bay. Tonight we're discussing two problems. The first is what happened, which we have been asked to refrain from speaking about at this juncture, and how that has taken our community near to the brink. The second bigger problem is how this Labour government has treated Epping Forest. They didn't consult us, they dumped people into unsuitable hotels without checks, without support, and without a plan. And now we're dealing with the consequences of their, word of the day, contempt for us. The Bell Hotel must close, not because we wish to tar its entire population with the brush of the offences that are alleged, but because it houses an all-male group with no transparency about where they come from, what their attitudes towards women and girls are, just minutes from a school. It's indefensible and grossly irresponsible. And we must recognise that not everyone in these hotels is a threat. The Phoenix Hotel houses women and children, many quietly just trying to get on and rebuild their lives. It wasn't the children starting the fires, it wasn't the widowed mothers committing the assaults, and we need to just put that on record. But that doesn't mean the Phoenix Hotel should stay open either. Sitting on a notoriously fast road, it's the wrong place for vulnerable families, and especially after the fire earlier this year, it's no longer safe. The government needs to provide a proper plan, not to leave them in a half-burnt-down hotel with no certainty. And that's why I believe this motion strikes the right balance and puts community safety first. Epping Forest is not this government's dumping ground. If this government thinks we're going to stay silent while they use us as a testing ground, they're wrong. They hold our community in contempt. They hold our concerns in contempt. They hold this council and all of the people that we represent in contempt. And we demand immediate action to make our districts safe again for our children and for our communities. And that is why I urge everyone to support this motion tonight. Thank you.
Can I just check there's no other members that wish to speak on the motion? Councillor Morris. Yeah. Can you please stand?
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Thank you, Chairman. Yeah. So I just wanted to say a few words. So I mean, I'm probably not the world's most eloquent speaker, and I think there are people in the chamber who have said things much better than me. But I do share everybody's concern and the deep concern that everybody's expressed today about the events of the last few weeks. But what I'm going to talk about really is just what I hope, rather than any more detail about what's happened. So, I mean, I can see commonality here. I mean, I know we've had expressions of doubt about this, but government policy is to eliminate the use of hotels for asylum seekers. They're not going to do it immediately, but it is their aim. And I think this does coincide with the EFDC's absolutely legitimate desire to close down the hotels in the area, particularly considering what's happened over the past few weeks. And I'm just going to express the hope that with sufficient pressure and common ground, that discussions between EFDC and the Home Office can take place, and that they can lead to a safe, secure, lawful and speedy resolution of this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Could you turn your microphone off? Thank you. So, Councillor Chris Whitbread, would you like to address the Council now?
Chairman, point of order, if I may.
Which rule is that?
A point of order. I was earlier, the legal officer said I misinformation.
Which rule are you talking about?
Monitoring officer may be able to clarify. I just wanted to confirm I would never mislead the chamber. Could you just explain the misinformation for the benefit of members and the members of the public? Thank you.
I want you to explain what misinformation means to the public. Are you prepared to do that? Is that necessary? I don't think that's necessary, really. No.
I would have thought the definition of that is quite obvious. It's something which isn't correct.
We don't need to. So thank you. Chris Whitbread, can you speak, please?
Thank you, Chairman. And Chairman, there are many times I've been here in debates and you feel, yes, it's the two sides divide and you've got the debate going. But isn't it nice that in these really difficult times for my hometown and our district, that we're able to come together with common cause? And Councillor Morris just used a word a few moments ago, common ground. But that's the ground where I like to live, the common ground where we can work together. And we've got a big piece of work to be done now to put our community back together again, but also to address the problems that we face. When Shane spoke earlier on during the debate, it really got us back to what this is about and the damage that's been done to our community and the fact that we have to act to make sure that government does eventually, as quickly as possible, listen to us. And I think listening to the debate this evening, it's reminded me that we need to redouble our efforts and we never give in to the government's neglect of Epping Forest. Indeed, I would say across Essex, the government often forgets about us on a whole range of issues. And I've seen the best of us tonight here, from Councillor Janet Whitehouse talking about the needs of the town and making sure that we encourage people to come here, to the passion showed by Holly, by the passion showed by Tom and others across the chamber, and the unity with Loughton that Councillor Pond showed to us, and of course the wise words of Eureka and others as we went across, Councillor Rackham. So that gives me real hope this evening that together we can lobby, push, cajole, make things happen and do our best to get the government to move from its current position. The one thing I will tell you this evening is that we will do everything from a council perspective that is within our diplomatic and legal grasp that we can do. I don't know this evening how far we can push this, but we will be pushing it. And we will do everything we can to achieve the objective of the whole of this council, the whole of the community that I grew up on, and we will be working tirelessly to get the government to listen and close the Bell and in the future close the Phoenix. This has to be done, but I think at the same time we have to accept there are people living in those facilities and they are vulnerable too. Because of what's happened, because of the awful events that have happened, We've got to bring our community back together again. If we didn't see another protest like we had last week, encouraged, poked up by people who are on the extremes of the life, we really now need peaceful demonstrations to help us achieve the objective. Violence will not help us achieve our objective. Government will close its ears. So together we can be stronger, and that's why I support this motion this evening.
Councillor Holly Whitbread, do you have anything you wish to add?
Nothing further to add, thank you, Chairman.
So, councillors, we will now have a vote on the motion. So, we'll ask you to raise your hand to indicate your choice. So, Mr Woodall will count the hands. So, all those, please, in favour of the motion, please raise your hands.
Unanimous, Chairman.
Unanimous. So that means the motion has been agreed. So, to the members of the public who have attended the meeting this evening, I'd like to thank you for being so respectful. It's been a pleasure to have you here. I'm going to pause the meeting for a few moments to allow you to leave the meeting if you so wish. You're more than welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but for security reasons, you will have to stay until the meeting has concluded if you choose to stay at this point. Thank you. So we'll just pause for a moment whilst those people who want to leave. Could those that are not seated and standing, could you sit down, please? Thank you. I don't think I need to. I think we're okay. So we're on to item 6 now, Chairman's announcements. So, councillors, it's with much sadness that I must inform you that Wyn Marshall, the chairman of our tenants and leaseholders panel, passed away last week. Wyn was a council tenant and dedicated many years to resident involvement activities at Epping Forest District Council. Wyn believed that tenants and leaseholders from all parts of the district, no matter their circumstances, should have a voice to share their views on housing-related matters. Wyn was part of our tenant and leaseholder panel for at least the last 10 years, latterly as the chair of the panel. As part of this role, he was the vice chair of the Association of Retained Council Housing tenant group, and as such represented tenants on the Arch Executive Board. His knowledge about council housing at Epping Forest District Council will be much missed, as will his passion for high-quality services for local tenants and leaseholders. He also sat as a co-opted member on the Community Scrutiny Committee, where he was able to reflect the views of tenants and leaseholders about policies and processes that were going through our decision-making process. In his time as one of our most engaged residents, Wyn led the panel and the wider tenant voice on key policies that were being developed by Epping Forest District Council, including significant health and safety policies and the housing strategy. His enthusiasm for social housing and his willingness to get involved are examples for us to follow in building such strong relationships between Epping Forest District Council and our tenants and leaseholders. Wyn will be sadly missed by his family and friends. So will you please join me in standing for a minute's silence in his honour? Thank you. Please be seated. I know there are some members that would like to say a few words. Councillor Holly Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman. I was so sorry and sad to hear about the passing of Wyn. Wyn was a great friend to this council. I had the opportunity to work with him closely as the Cabinet Member for Housing, and you were right to say his knowledge was second to none. He really did have a brilliant understanding of council housing in Epping Forest District. He was also a voice of reason and balance. For anyone who's ever attended a tenant and leaseholders meeting, they can sometimes be a little bit fiery, and we're challenged quite rightly as a council. But Wyn was always that balanced voice in the room and brought the meeting together. I also worked with Wyn on the Qualis Community grant funding allocations, and again, he provided excellent balance. He was a really lovely man, always very kind and thoughtful, and I will miss working with him, although I haven't had the opportunity over the past year, and I know it was sudden, so my best wishes to his family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whitbread. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't think there's much that I can add that Holly hasn't already said, but I work closely with Wyn as well. He had all those attributes. I would just mention two other things. In terms of scrutiny on housing issues, he was very much not only well informed, but ahead of knowledgeable of current trends and things that he had just read about and was aware about what was happening across the country. So that always impressed me. And just a Loughton comment, he was also very involved in the Wollingale Allotment Association, and I know the member of staff on the Town Council who's involved in running or involved in the Wollingale Allotment Association will miss his input very much indeed.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd first like to send my condolences to Wyn's family. Being on the communities, I've worked with Wyn for quite some time, and he was a really good guy. And what he gave to the meetings was invaluable, his contribution. Not that we always agreed, but often I was probably wrong, but not that I like to admit that. but he'll be very hard to replace because he was just so passionate. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Janet Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, most of what I was going to say has already been said, and I do agree with all that. I was on the Housing Scrutiny Committee and Communities with him, and he did bring this wide knowledge of housing from his work with the Arch, as you mentioned, and it was really great to have his first-hand experience as a tenant when we discussed things, and his comments were always helpful and constructive, and we shall miss him on Community Scrutiny Committee.
Thank you. Not sure where that's coming from, but yeah, thanks. If we can get it out of the chamber, that'd be great. I can still sort of hear it. Right, okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Whitehouse. Councillor Brooks, would you like to say something?
I won't repeat what my colleagues have said, but I sat on housing scrutiny and then the committee. I think what stood out for me was his integrity and, as Councillor Murray and others have mentioned, a wide knowledge of what was happening nationally on social issues, particularly as post-Grenfell. There have been many changes in housing, social housing legislation. I think also what stuck out to me is when we had the last gathering, when the Housing Department did an open afternoon, admittedly quite a hot one, a few weeks ago, and at 5 o'clock we were due to have the meeting of the tenants panel. Now, that hardly any people had come up all afternoon, and I think we only had Wyn, because of ill health, wasn't able to attend that day, and I think there were only about 2 other people there who had particular things they wanted to gripe to the officers about. But I think it was many people get on to us about wanting to live in Epping Forest housing. But when I ask them, will you be willing to be involved in something like the tenants panel, many people don't think it's for them. And actually, we're just looking for ordinary people who want to speak up to get involved, and Wynne was willing to do that on behalf of other people, and that's what I'll value about him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. We have Jodie Lucas that would like to speak on Teams. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I just would like to, as Chairman of the Scrutiny Committee, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Wynne for his input in the community scrutiny over the years. He was very genuine, passionate and knowledgeable, and he'll be sadly missed on the committee. I'd like to send my condolences to his family and friends. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So thank you for your kind words and memories. I'm sure they will bring some comfort to his family and friends. Before I speak about my first few months as chairman, I'd like for you all to note that there will be an extraordinary full council meeting on Monday, the 15th of September 2025. This will be a one-item meeting to discuss the local government reorganisation. So this is an extremely important meeting, and I hope you will all be able to attend. So, my first 2 months as chairman has been an amazing array of events, some more sombre, others celebrating many achievements, and I feel absolutely privileged to have witnessed firsthand the strength of our communities. There's so many events I could talk about, and so many inspirational people that I've met. Out of the 20 events that I've so far been to since May, but I've only got time to talk about a few, I know. So my first event as chairman was the funeral of Kenneth Batt, who served in the Second World War and had lived in Loughton with his dear wife for over 50 years. He passed away aged 103. The funeral was attended by veterans from the Royal Wessex Yeomanry, the regiment that Ken had served with. It was an absolute honour to attend the funeral on behalf of the residents of Epping Forest District Council. I very much enjoyed the event to open the wonderful new community train space along with the Mayor of Waltham Abbey at Upshire School, named Mr Brown, which I know is going to be a fantastic community asset and definitely something to see if you can. It's amazing. I attended the vigil for the Air India victims at the Chigwell Mandir, where we stood as a community in silence and remembrance. And I also attended the High Sheriff Garden Party at Southminster Hall in Essex with my daughter. And we felt so uplifted by some of the stories of courage and determination of people all around Essex. I must also mention the launch of the new Limes Farm play area, which I attended with the Vice Chairman, as well as the Oakwood Hill Community Safety Day. So wonderful to see families enjoying themselves and our community wellbeing team there with the play in the park. I had a few goes at the things that they had there, which was fun. And hearing what fantastic work is being done by Epping Forest District Council community wellbeing and safety teams, along with other agencies in both these neighbourhoods. I've built 2 bug hotels. I never thought I'd say that because I'm not great with bugs. With children at 2 schools in Epping, with the help of Pelican, who are building the new Epping Leisure Centre. They built the pallets up, and then the children and I think the leader came as well, and Councillor Holly Whitbread and a few others to build this bug hotel, which was really good fun. But the bugs weren't in there yet, so I was okay with that, just putting the leaves in and stuff. I'm not sure I want to go back to them yet, but I've also given out graduation certificates to 4-year-olds at Chigwell Day Nursery. I entertain nursery-age children myself at Epping with the library manager at Epping Library with puppets and singing. And my daughter held a charity event in Loughton where children came for a fairy tale party and I was forced to dress up as a princess. And I was also grateful to Thoden Boys Golf Club who allowed me to entertain children at their family event in return for paying into the chairman's charities for my charities St Margaret's, League of Friends and Epping Forest Food Bank. So both of these events have raised £200 already for my chosen charities. And at both of them I had to dress up as a princess. It's a bit bizarre. So it was so good also to visit Epping Forest Food Bank and one of my chosen charities at the start of my chairmanship, seeing the great work that they do, especially advice around benefits. And I also had a lovely morning at St Margaret's Hospital talking to the medical and clerical staff as they queued for their once-a-year ice cream, which is paid for by League of Friends of St Margaret's, the charity I'm supporting. As a thanks for all their hard work as well, they get this ice cream once a year and it's lovely. It's a massive queue and it just gave me such a nice time to be able to talk to them all. And I also attended their new, they've got 3 new day rooms and that's also been helped to paid for by the League of Friends of St Margaret's. I must also mention the memory train last week, which was as always, was a delight, a train of smiles and reminiscing with the Vice Chairman, from North Weald to Ungar, a safe event for people with dementia and their carers or families. I also cut my first ribbon at the new St Clair's Hospice charity shop in Loughton High Road, which is a wonderful, nice, bright shop, and I definitely recommend you visit. And I've also attended St Clair's Hospice Lions on the Loose launch, which I think you'll be hearing more about as the year goes on, but it's an amazing initiative of a lion trail, which comes to life next year. And also something that meant a lot to me was attending a Pact for Autism parenting session in Epping, which as a parent of an autistic child myself, I found actually extremely supportive, and I'd never been to a session like that. So I also learnt more about the wonderful work that Pact do in our district. So that's the end of my 2 months. Hope you enjoyed that. Okay. So agenda item 7 is public questions. Do we have any public questions?
No, Chairman, we do not.
Agenda item 8, questions by members under notice. So we do have 2 questions submitted from Councillor Lisa Morgan, which you will find on the supplementary committee agenda. Councillor Morgan, would you like to ask your questions individually so that they can be answered individually, if that's okay?
Sorry, I was just looking for it.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, I can't find it. Sorry, I can't find it. On
You
my
can't find the
computer.
questions? Have
No, I
you
can't
got
find
the
my question.
Do you want...
I couldn't get the internet, so I can...
Is it
I've
okay
asked-
if Mr Woodall reads out the question one at a time?
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
If not, I'm quite happy just to
Okay,
do it from memory.
yeah.
Thank you.
The first part of the question was, previously Biffa had the contract for dealing with weeds on the roadside. Since TVS has taken over, who now is contracted to control the weeds and what is their schedule of works, please?
Councillor Balcom, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Currently, there is no contract in place for weed spraying. We are currently provided with funding from ECC to carry out weed spraying. However, this funding is insufficient to cover the costs. We are in the process of drawing up a new contract for the areas covered by the weed spraying requirements of county, and at that point we will be able to prove the prices we have been quoted do not meet the funding being provided. We will then ask if county wishes to proceed or take the function back into highways. In the meantime, we are removing weeds upon request where resources allow with the street cleaning service.
Thank you, Councillor Balcom. Councillor Morgan, would you like to ask anything else?
Thank you very much for that. I can go back to my residence now. Thank you.
Would you be able to read the second question, Mr Woodall?
So the second part of the question was, also with the tragic event in Chalkwell Park, Southend-on-Sea, can the portfolio holder assure us that the trees within the district remit are regularly surveyed and that this is completed on a 3-year rolling programme? Obviously, unless due to age and health of a particular tree, it needs to be monitored more frequently. If so, how many need to be monitored on a 6-month basis?
Councillor Kesker, are you able to...
Thank you, Chairman. I can assure Councillor Morgan, and in fact all councillors, that all council-owned trees are inspected regularly on a risk-based approach and on a regular cycle of that is determined by the individual assessment of each tree. Any works deemed necessary are carried out immediately as appropriate.
Would you like to come back?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So item 9, we've already had a report from the leader. So are there any members of the Cabinet that wish to add to their reports verbally at all? No? Thank you. Right, so we have agenda item number 10, questions by members without notice. If you could give the Vice Chairman just a chance to write names down of anyone that wishes to speak. Just give us a moment. If you could keep your hands up so that I know that I've got everybody. Just while we're waiting, so I'll allow the usual 30 minutes for this item. May I ask those wishing to speak to clearly indicate their intention to speak by raising their hands? And can I ask that you're brief to the point when asking your question? If you have more than one question, your second question may be asked after other councillors have spoken, and that way everyone that wishes will have a chance to speak. Thank you. Councillor John Whitehouse, please, if you wish to speak, I
was waiting to be told I could put my hand down.
I don't know who told you to put your hand down, but it wasn't me.
Oh, right, okay.
But yeah, please feel free to speak.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a question for Councillor Williamson, if I may. I mean, he'll know well the importance of infrastructure in the in the district when we get planning applications in, most notably health, highways, travel, but right down to things like allotments and recreation grounds and community halls. I mean, I remember him saying at one of this year's cabinet meetings that the infrastructure delivery plan was pretty much a standing item on the conversations he had with officers in the planning department. And I just wondered what assurances or what update he could give us on how near the update is to completion, given the existing IDP dates from 2020. Much of the space is older. And I'm well aware with things like the SIL report to last week's cabinet, the various master plans, planning applications on the horizon. It's really important we've got an up-to-date knowledge and statement of infrastructure before those applications are determined.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Whitehouse, for your question. It's something I raise at my weekly meeting, and I will raise it again tomorrow. There is no actual timetable in place at the moment, but I will let you know what I find out tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lee, did you have a question?
I wasn't nearly ready. I just want to ask about the blue bins, as I've had a number of people complaining that they're not big enough. Now, I do understand that you can either have another one or maybe a bigger one. So if that could be put out to the public, I'd be very grateful. Thank you.
And Councillor Balcom.
That's my night, yeah. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Lee. Yes, we will be putting further information out on that, and it is also going out on the side of dust cards, so you will see the information. But anybody can phone in now and ask for a second bid through the waste section.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McIver, you had a question.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Prime Minister recently said that there is plenty of social housing and there's loads and loads available. This week also many local authorities have been asked to accept all British citizens in Israel to be treated as automatically homeless when they arrive to Britain. This, which is I completely agree with. But there is also the request that any body in a Palestinian occupied territory can also be treated as homeless on day one. That's an instruction from central government, and anybody else that is eligible. This definition is vague, so it's obviously concerning for pressures on housing stock. Can I therefore ask, what is the Council's position on this, and have we received instruction from the government to this nature yet?
Okay, do you want to answer, Councillor Whitbread?
Well, I hope I'm correct, but I've not actually seen any letters from government to express this view yet. But this is exactly the type of thing where we have to act with a real maturity and intelligence when we're asking these questions, that we actually have our facts correct first, rather than just make knee-jerk questions like that. Really don't think that's helpful, especially bearing in mind what we've been discussing this evening and the amount of sensitivity out there at the present time.
Thank you. Councillor Councillor Janet Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, my question is also about the blue-lidded bins to Councillor Borkham. In your report, you say that supplies of clear sacks for the recycling are ended, which we know about, but then you go on to say that properties who have been granted exemption can still use clear sacks as they do for refuse. So where are the people expected to get the clear sacks from? And this also leads on to the ending of the provision is going to affect people like me who live in flats. At present, we use the clear sacks to go to the communal recycling bin. And because of my connection with the council, I know that you're going to be providing us with blue Hessian sacks. But how is this information being put out to people in sacks? I can see that, in flats, I can see the sacks will suddenly end and they won't know what is supposed to be coming instead. And finally, I was able to collect a blue Hessian sack. I thought we were going to bring all 3 of them today, so I didn't bring mine. I was going to bring mine to show. It is, I was assuming it was going to be the same size as a plastic sack. It's considerably smaller in capacity, which means more trips to the communal bin and more times up and down the stairs. Now, we've just heard that people in houses are going to be offered different sizes of bins, bigger ones than what they've got, or smaller ones than what they've got. So are people in flats going to also be offered a choice of size for our bag? After all, there are couples, there are families who live in flats, just like they do in houses. So, I do think more thought needs to be given to those with some flats. Thank you.
Councillor Bowker.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, we will not be providing any sacks. It's down to if they decide they want to use clear plastic bags, it's down to them. Obviously, else we'd have carried on with the old system. You're quite right. We are now at the process of allowing people to have a second bin or a larger bin. Sorry, your third question was about management, wasn't it?
It was about 2 things. It was about how you're going to tell people in flats that sacks are finishing and what's going to happen next. Well, and are we going to have a choice of size as well?
Take the last point first. That size of sack is basically for health and safety reasons as well. A larger sack carrying it downstairs for different people could be dangerous. So, and actually, it's not a lot smaller than the current blue clear sacks that we were using. Does that answer your question?
What about communicating this to the people in flats?
The communication, I have just mentioned that before for the last question. If you look on the side of the freighters now that are picking up the blue bins, you will see there's a new thing, and there is an extra 4-leaf coat hanger leaflet, which will be coming out. But the answer to your question about the sacks and how you move them down is really a question for the management of the blocks.
Thank you. Councillor Pond.
This is a question for Councillor Matthews. Councillor Matthews told me at the March Council meeting that the sterility in the middle of Loughton High Road caused by an empty unit, which has been labelled Fable Stores, would be remedied during the month of April. Madam Chairman, he didn't specify in which year he meant the April. The site is still sterile, still empty. When is he going to insist on the warranty that the renter gave the council as landlord that trading would continue?
Councillor Matthews.
Thank you, Councillor Pond. I will ensure I always attach a year going forward. Our difficulty with it is I can confirm the landlord is still paying their rent. The tenant is still paying their rent. They're conforming with all parts of their contract. We have been in constant dialogue and are trying to encourage the progression of this matter, as we know it's something that is deeply felt by the Loughton residents, but at the moment they are complying with their contract and they are paying their rent. If that changes, you can be assured we will act swiftly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is to the communities portfolio holder, and it's a good news question. I just wanted to know whether he would like to share with me and celebrate the work of the Safer Communities team and the community development team in what they managed to achieve on Oakwood Hill Recreation Ground on the 12th of July when they ran an inaugural community fun and safety extravaganza which attracted the best part of about 600 residents, very largely from the Loughton Roding ward.
Thank you, Councillor Murray, for your question. And it really reassures me that somebody has bothered to follow my portfolio. The first question that I've had, I think, in 13 years in the post. So thank you very much, and equally delighted that you've brought up a good news story. And I would completely echo everything that you say. We've been working very, very hard to plug resource in the Oakwood Hill estate. Special tribute to our community officer, Claire. I think she's done a phenomenal job in embedding herself into the role. She's a highly responsive and a very approachable person on the Oakwood Hill estate. So totally echo the sentiments, and thank you very much for the question.
Thank you. Councillor Cohen.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I have another rubbish question.
It's a good question, not a rubbish question.
So we are now in possession of another blue bin, thank you, and in it we put plastic, paper and bottles. And from the 1st of April, our residents are going to have to pay £60 a year for fortnightly collections of garden and food waste, instead of weekly free collections of our green lidded bins, a double blow. Would the portfolio holder of waste collection like to let us residents know what is supposed to be put in black bins? Because other than bubble wrap and cling film, or disposable nappies, of which 3% of the population would be applicable to, we're a bit surprised to know, don't really understand what we are meant to be putting in these black bins. Also, I believe that cardboard can be collected separately, but it has to be dry. So in wet weather, how would this be collected, and how would it be kept dry? Thank you.
Councillor Malcolm.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Where do we start? The information, as I just said earlier, there's a whole new leaflet we're just going through at the moment, which will be coming out shortly once we've finalised what we're doing with the green bins, what will go in them, the food bin, obviously, and the blue and the black. So that will all be on the leaflet that comes out. Then it will tell you about contamination of the bin. So if you put the wrong thing in, they're then contaminated, so they will not be collected, things like that. Does that answer your question?
Do you wanted to ask a supplementary from it, Councillor Cohen? But can you stand up to do that, please?
So the black bin could be empty or empty-ish, because everything else would have to be recycled in the other bins.
Councillor Balcom.
Thank you. If everything is recyclable, yes, it goes in the recycling bin. If it's not, it goes in the black bin. But you cannot put garden waste and things in the black bin.
Okay. Councillor Rackham.
Thank you, Chair. I think my question is directed to Councillor Williamson. I've noticed a significant increase in the number of vehicles parked on grass verges and pavements when I'm out and about. Very inconsiderate parking, and also, in some cases, dangerous parking. I've noticed that people are parking on grass verges, next to children's play areas, at corners of junctions, and dangerously blocking sight lines and on double yellow lines. And nothing really appears to be done about it. I've raised this with Essex Parking Partnership and with council officers. Essex Parking Partnership very rarely attend. And I think because there is so little enforcement, people think they can get away with it. More worryingly, council officers have told me that there's nothing they can do about some of this because they don't have the legal power to stop it. This despite there being official signs erected in some places warning people not to park on certain verges. Could I get a definitive answer to what powers we do have And also what enforcement measures can be taken where we do this. And also, if we haven't got any powers, what is required for us to get them? I might quickly add that this is a potential source of revenue for us, and I think that it's something that we definitely ought to be sort of doing more on. Thank you.
Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Rackham. Yeah, grass verges. For years we were told we couldn't do anything. I attended NEPP meetings as your representative, and eventually we found something called the Essex Act. It was put in the members' book. The first pilot study was done in Loughton Way, a part of Loughton Way, and was incredibly successful. Actually caught one of our councillors, but that's another story. I wasn't very popular there. It was put in the members' bulletin that we can use this act where the grass verges are maintained. So if it's actually cut or anybody else looks after the grass verge, we can use this act. And I really strongly recommend members to put it forward to the council officers, and we will take action on that. On the pavement parking, the officers are quite correct. We have no legal powers. I think it needs an act of government for us to get those legal powers that London has. And we've been lobbying for that for years. Don't hold your breath. NEPP are on the enforcement. If there are parking restrictions in place and you don't think they are actually being enforced, on the website you can request enforcement, or you can ask our officers, and we will make sure that they're added to NEPP's list of places they visit. But there is literally a place on their website that you can ask for enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Amos.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The government consultation on possible revisions to the planning system closed yesterday. I responded in a personal capacity, but I wondered whether this council responded to that consultation.
Councillor Williamson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Amos. Yes, we did.
Councillor Bromwich.
Thank you and congratulations for 2 months in the role. Can I use this as an opportunity to welcome you to the North Weald Senior Society's Ploughmans? I'll send you an invite after. It happens every Saturday from 12 o'clock. It's wonderful fun, as my colleagues also know. So my question is to the Cabinet member who after tonight will have the biggest glutes in the chamber, Councillor Balcom, because you're going to be standing up again. It hasn't been a perfect rollout of the bins. But I do want to put on record that I think that your communication, your speed, your willingness to answer questions and get into the nitty-gritty of it has been outstanding, and I would like to put that on record with this question. My question relates to fly tipping. A few weeks ago, I went with some Thornwood residents along Rye Hill Road. We also went to Foster Street, Green Lane leading into Thresher's Bush, and also along Mill Street. We reported almost 30 incidents of fly tipping, and the residents were saying, look, these are hot spots. These areas of nature are always covered and blighted by fly tipping. What can we as a council do to increase surveillance of the hot spots? Is it a case of working with Essex County Council to make sure that the highways have a camera pointing on these common places where fly tipping takes place? But what can we as a council do to increase surveillance and stop people fly tipping in the places where we all know it happens? Thank you.
Councillor Balcom, would that be? Yeah.
First of all, I agree with you on fly tipping. It is a big problem. And first of all, I would say it's just as difficult to clear the fly tip afterwards as find the culprits who do it. But yes, there are procedures that EFDC can put surveillance cameras in. But again, it's got to be proof that they did dump the rubbish. So yes, it can go forward on those spaces.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Lisa Morgan.
Thank you. Well, you're not going to be very happy with this, I'm afraid.
My concern really is with what Councillor Cohen said about the black bins, and when Councillor Bolcom then came back and said it's contamination if we put any green waste in it. Councillor Lee highlighted that she gets bunches of flowers and she's going to have to pay £60 a year to get rid of her bunch of flowers rather than put it in the black bin. What can we do to help the likes of Councillor Lee? She's not the only one that's out there that does get flowers occasionally, and we don't want them dumped all over the area, mainly in, as Councillor Rackham said, people parking on the verges, but we get skips on the verges as well. So does Councillor Lee then go and fly tip her bunches of flowers in the skips that are on the green verges? Thank you.
Councillor Balcom.
First of all, I hope you're not contaminating your bins now you've cleaned them. At the moment, we're actually going through 2 or 3 procedures. We are actually rewriting the contamination and what can go in each bin. So that is going through at the moment. Secondly, there's always composting. And we are encouraging people to do that. There's also schemes where you can share a bin with your neighbour or whatever. So we are working on systems at the moment. Does that answer it?
It does for me. I'm not sure it does for Councillor Lee that doesn't have a garden for composting.
Right, well that seems to be all the members that wanted to ask questions, so we can move forward to agenda item 11. So that's the report from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. So may I ask Councillor Baldwin to present his report, please?
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that, Chairman. There might be a little bit of repetition here, rather like the BBC, because I recently gave a report to Cabinet on Monday, so apologies for that. But I'm delighted to continue with my role as Chairman of Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and held our first meeting on 10th of June, when the leader set out the Council's priorities for the year, and we've agreed an interesting work programme, I hope, both for place committees and for communities committees and for the main ONS committee. We scrutinised the end-of-year organisational performance and some of the main projects that we've got going on at the moment, such as the one on the Broadway. I think we've got 4 of these main projects going on at the moment. We also had very detailed scrutiny of the garden transition to charging for garden waste. And I want to thank Councillor George Mandy George for asking some very detailed questions. And I think we provided valuable input for the decision that was taken on that by Cabinet last Monday. There is a little bit of good news for the diaries, which is, I know Councillor Lyon is quite keen on this one, that TfL will be attending place scrutiny on the 27th of January. So that is a date, I think, for the diary. That would come to, place scrutiny committee, 27th of January. And then, as I always really say, that members are most welcome, especially Cabinet members, and all members are most welcome to attend Scrutiny Committee, and certainly to send an email to me if they want anything included in our work programme or anything specific. And I think that's about it. The next ONS meeting will be on the 5th of August. 5th of August? It's a week on Tuesday, I believe, isn't it? Yeah. So, thank you, Chairman. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, and I think we have Councillor Murray first that wanted to speak. Is this in response to the report? Yes.
It's the first time I'd picked that up. I do try and read everything. So we're having TfL on the 27th of January.
Yes.
What steps, and this is a serious question because I thought the last time was a complete and utter waste of time. So what steps can we take to try and ensure 2 things that didn't happen last time? One, we get people of a serious standing in the organisation, because the 2 lads we had were pleasant enough, but that's what they were. Lads that were sent out on a task that they weren't equipped for. It wasn't their fault. So how do we reach serious people that can actually influence TfL, and what guarantee have we got that they're actually going to answer the questions that we've given them in advance? We had two really nice work experience lads, really, to be blunt, who didn't even really seem to know the questions had been put in advance. So it's going to be a complete and utter waste of time unless we can take steps to try and ensure we get a response. I remember, and I think I said this before, I remember when we had a scrutiny meeting. It was more of a smaller panel. We met in Hemnall Street, and we had Tim O'Toole at the meeting, who was the American General Director of the Underground, I think, at that time. So we need serious people who know that they've had questions to answer and come along here fully briefed. Otherwise, it's a waste of time.
Thank you. And Councillor John Whitehouse.
Thanks, Chairman, and thanks the other Chairman for your report. We heard earlier from that Chairman that we've got a special council meeting on the 15th of September to discuss local government reorganisation. I mean, that, of course, is just 11 days before the deadline for submissions. So I imagine a lot of the content of the submission will be fairly locked down by then, and the scope for significant change will be limited. Could I therefore ask that at the next scrutiny meeting, there is an item on the agenda that lets people have a little general discussion about the principles that should inform, the creation of that submission. There was some discussion at Cabinet last week, but that obviously only includes some members. And over the scrutiny session, a bit like the sessions on the budget, would enable more members to have their input to those principles.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chris Whitbread.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. And sorry to jump in, Councillor Baldwin, but I hope you don't mind. At Cabinet, what we agreed we would do is bring forward a report to all members, or a meeting of all members. But obviously, before we do that, we have to make sure that we're releasing a documentation that's available to everybody. There is a number of reports that have already been carried out that show the financial impact and the impact on adult social care and children's services. And our intention is to bring some either a full council workshop on LGR so we can have a full discussion and of the emerging evidence that's there. And I should imagine scrutiny will want to look at it as well. But there is an awful lot of work that's ongoing, and of course we're still waiting for some of the information back that will inform the eventual choices that we have. What we do know now pretty clearly is 5 is too many, 2 is probably too few, and 3 is the Goldilocks moment.
Okay, thank you. So, councillors, if there are no more questions, can we note the report, please? Thank you. Item 12 is the joint arrangements and external organisations. Do any members have any reports they would like to present this evening? Councillor Janet Whitehouse.
I don't have a report, but I'd like to ask for a report. We used to get regular reports from Councillor Kane on the Royal Gunpowder Mills. I'd really like to know what's happening there. And I would urge people who are representing this council on bodies to keep us informed. And community transport is another one I'd like to hear about, please.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone that would like to speak about that, or has any reason why we're not getting those reports? Councillor Lee.
They've had no meetings. I've had no information at all about any meetings to attend at all. Sorry.
Is there anything that we can do about that, or is they just not having any meetings?
They obviously don't want me there.
Fine, okay. Right, so...
Councillor Morris.
So there is your answer, Councillor Whitehouse. There aren't any meetings, so there's no reports. Councillor Morris.
Sorry, do I have to stand? I'm not sure.
Please.
I just say that they do attend the Waltham Abbey Town Partnership, and they do give a report at each meeting, so it might be worth using that as something to feed back to you. Just a suggestion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Morris. Okay, so item number 13 on our agenda. So as there's no items for consideration at the exclusion of the public and press, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you all a very safe journey home. Hold on a moment before we start packing up. Oh yeah, okay.
Chairman, are we going to get a briefing about whether it's okay?
Hold on a moment because I'm coming to that.
Oh, thank you. I thought you were just about to close the meeting.
Okay, so the webcast is still on, so just like to take this opportunity to wish you all a very safe journey home, and I declare the meeting is closed at 21:04 p.m.